Hey everybody, David Boris here. Before we begin, I wanted to take a minute to ask you to check us out on Patreon. It's a great way to support this podcast because if you become a patron at patreon.com, you get early ad-free releases and exclusive behind-the-scenes bonus content you won't hear anywhere else. Patreon is a safe and secure way to support the podcast on a monthly basis. It helps me keep the show growing, and it helps me keep the show going. So become a patron today at patreon.com/hostilehistory. Okay, let's get to the show. As Berlin collapsed on April 30th, 1945, and Soviet troops were only blocks away, deep beneath the city, Adolf Hitler disappeared into his bunker. Within hours, the world was told he's dead. But almost immediately, rumors began to swirl. Did he escape through secret tunnels? Was he smuggled to South America? Did the Allies and Soviets hide the truth? Welcome to Hostile History Unpacked. I'm David Boris. Today, we are going to dig a little deeper, pun intended, into a story that has fueled decades of books, documentaries, and conspiracy theories to finally answer what really happened to Adolf Hitler. Let's start with the truth, because historians, researchers, geneticists, scholars, and academics like Turi King and Alex Kay are all overwhelmingly confident that Hitler died in April 1945. By then, the war in Europe was almost over, and Hitler knew defeat was upon him. Instead of trying to escape, he retreated deep underground, where Hitler and his longtime companion Eva Braun, who had become his wife just the day before, took their own lives. Braun swallowed cyanide, while Hitler is believed to have taken cyanide and then shot himself. Following Hitler's instructions, members of his staff carried their bodies outside, poured gasoline over them, and set them on fire to prevent them from being captured and displayed, particularly by the Soviets. That is the version of events accepted by historians, and it is supported by the work of researchers Turi King and Alex Kay from last episode. Turi King is a world-renowned geneticist who has worked on DNA testing for many historical figures, such as Richard III. Alex Kay is a British historian who has written extensively on Nazi Germany. So where did the conspiracy theories that Hitler survived come from? Well, surprisingly, they can be traced to Soviet leader Joseph Stalin. In the months after the war, Stalin sometimes would hint that Hitler could have escaped. Now, historians think he probably knew the truth, but the uncertainty could keep Western allies guessing and remind everyone that the threat of Nazism wasn't completely over. Whatever his reasons might have been, despite the fact that Hitler's death had been made public as early as May 1945, the seeds of doubt were already being planted. From there, the theories only grew. The most famous one claims that Hitler escaped Germany and fled to South America, Argentina being the most popular destination. According to these theories, he somehow made his way through Spain before crossing the Atlantic, where he supposedly lived for years under a fake identity. Now, there's a reason why this theory becomes just believable enough to be taken seriously by some. Many high-ranking Nazis really did escape to South America after the war. Nazis like Adolf Eichmann and Joseph Mengele managed to avoid capture for years by using a secret escape route known as a rat line. Now, the rat lines absolutely existed, so it's understandable why some people would believe Hitler could have used them too. But there's one major problem. Despite decades of searching, no credible evidence has ever been found showing that Hitler escaped Germany. Not a document, not a photograph, not reliable eyewitness testimony. Nothing. I repeat, just in case there are still doubters out there, there isn't a single piece of credible evidence that can stand up to a careful historical investigation that can prove Hitler escaped Germany. But because the Soviet government was extremely secretive about its investigation, some argued that they must have been covering up Hitler's escape. Then, in 2009, the conspiracy theory fire got more kindling. A skull fragment that had long been kept in Russian archives was tested for DNA, and the results suggested the bone had belonged to a woman, not Hitler. To conspiracy theorists, this seemed like proof that historians were wrong. But here's the important detail that often gets left out. That skull fragment was never the main piece of evidence used to identify Hitler in the first place. Identification of his body came from his dental remains. Hitler's teeth and jaw were compared with detailed dental records as well as testimony from his dentist and dental assistants. It was a match. Forensic experts consider that evidence far more reliable than the disputed skull fragment discovered decades later. Of course, conspiracy theories don't survive on evidence alone. They also survive because people find them fascinating. Books, documentaries, and television shows have kept these stories alive by investigating supposed sightings of Hitler in Argentina, Brazil, and other countries. They make for great entertainment because they ask the exciting question, what if history was wrong? Of course, much of this is simply reckless. When historians have investigated these theories, they have bumped up against the same problems again and again. Rumors instead of documents, unreliable witnesses, and speculation without any solid evidence. In the end, the mystery surrounding Hitler's death tells us something interesting about ourselves. Some people prefer dramatic alternative explanations, even when the evidence points in a much simpler direction. The real challenge for historians isn't finding the most exciting story, it's following the evidence wherever it leads. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and after decades of investigation, no credible evidence has ever shown that Adolf Hitler escaped Berlin. While rumors, forged documents, and alleged sightings have kept the conspiracy alive, none have withstood historical scrutiny. The overwhelming evidence, which includes eyewitness accounts, forensic evidence, and declassified records, all supports the same conclusion. Hitler died by suicide in the Führer bunker on the 30th of April, 1945.